Okay, so the first walkthrough is Miss Shea.
Yes.
She is a dual enrollment history.
Hmm.
And today we walked in with students presenting the posters at the front.
Hmm.
Um, they were going over social stratification,
Hmm.
and the students were presenting, I guess, their notes or their findings on social stratification. And the other students had graphic organizers collecting notes
Okay.
as they were presenting.
Okay. So if you look at it, let's go over which domains we will give the teacher the feedback. Okay.
Yes,
So we remember which ones are the two domains that we give feedback in a walkthrough.
it would be two and three,
Two and
domain
three.
two and three.
Okay, well, right, which is our instruction and our classroom management.
Learning.
Okay. So the first note that I wrote was students have a poster on of their work.
Yes.
So where would you put that note?
That would be 2.1, achieving
Okay, achieving
expectation.
expectations. Okay, because we have the students actually being the ones presenting. Which other
Yes.
domain will also go besides 2.1?
I believe communication.
Andale, yes.
Communication. Yeah.
And because in the type of communication, we want to see student to teacher,
Yes.
teacher to student. And in
Yes.
this case, yes, they were doing that.
Yes.
And then what else do you have?
The teacher was telling or giving students like a guide.
Mm-hmm.
She was guiding them through their presentation, kind of giving them um, um, like cues, I guess, what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that fell in line with also achieving expectations.
Mm-hmm.
She has high expectations for the students when they're presenting.
Mm-hmm.
She's also telling the classroom, telling them to pay attention, give their undivided attention, making sure that they're quiet, they're listening, and they're taking notes in their graphic organizer. Um, so while those students are presenting, the students are writing notes on their own.
Mm-hmm.
I would also add differentiation in there because
Yes.
she gives graphic organizer.
Mm-hmm.
And she is also questioning during their presentation, which would be monitoring and
Yes.
adjusting. So 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she also, when the students finish, she tells them to give the three most important things that the students need to write or what the other students need to write. Um, so I believe that that also falls into, I believe, differentiation and monitoring.
Mm-hmm. In my
Um,
notes, so you know how I wrote it, I wrote teacher says, as the group is presenting, you need to take notes. So she's giving very specific
mhm.
instructions to the kids. And I know we have a 2.1 expectations, but
Mhm.
also here you can give her credit for domain 3
Oh, yes.
because she's actually giving them, if you look at domain 3, where are we having 3.1? Procedures,
Yes.
routines and
Yes.
procedures, students grouping,
Yeah.
it's
Oh, yes.
classroom safety.
Yes.
So I will also say, okay, the teacher has high expectations,
Mm-hmm.
but also she is giving specific rules.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then I also wrote the students are paying attention, like you say,
Mm-hmm.
they write notes. The teacher tell the students you need to project loud and show your visuals.
Mm-hmm.
Teacher was always in the power zone,
Yes.
reviewing the information the students gave,
Mm-hmm.
and the teacher questions the group presentation and challenges them,
Yes, which was at the
which
end.
is at the end.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, that will be my 2.5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great.
And
Okay.
yeah, and the classroom culture there is great.
Mhm.
It's good.
And we visit that class before,
Yes.
going back to the same teacher.
Mm-hmm.
When we visit her before, to Miss Shea, what do we see in that class?
So that one, the last time the students were doing a writing assignment,
Mhm.
they were writing with a timer. Um, they were differentiating race versus ethnicity.
Mhm.
They were typing their responses on computers, which was a little bit of differentiation there. I believe we talked about that. The teacher was going around assisting them. She was providing feedback as they were writing,
Mhm.
and she was also helping some of them, guiding them.
Mhm.
Um, they did have a graphic organizer. I think I saw the organizer that they were using. I believe they were using the graphic organizer to write their their paper. The students were working independently. They did have a bell ringer and higher order thinking questions, and she was also using personal experiences,
Yes, I remember that.
real world personal experiences. I believe her marriage. She was using her
Yes.
husband as an example.
Yes. Yeah. So, and you can tell 2 times that we visit this teacher, the class is always engaged.
Yes, always.
Always engaged. So this is one of our very, very good teachers.
Hmm.
Then today we also visit a regular classroom. So
Yes.
let's talk about the regular classroom in Miss Vasquez class.
Yes. So what we saw there was students who were reading on their own,
Mhm.
and then as soon as we walked in, they kind of started talking amongst
Mhm.
themselves or amongst each other. There was a timer on the board as well.
Mhm.
Um, I asked one of the students what they were working on, and they were EOC packets. So they were EOC packets, passages, and I think they were answering questions in groups.
Mhm.
The students were discussing together. The teacher was talking to some of the students, not all of them, but she was kind of going around the classroom. The kids were reading aloud. The culture felt, or the classroom environment felt welcoming
Mhm.
for the most part. Teacher did, I noticed, started to redirect student behavior. I think there
Mhm.
was some kids that were either on their phones or talking or doing
Yes.
something that was off task. So I noticed that she went and redirected there. She checked in on some of the groups when we are talking to some of them, and then some students needed help. So
Mhm.
she started to kind of help and adjust. I
Mhm.
guess the 2.5 she was
Mhm.
monitoring, adjusting. So yeah, I liked what I saw there. Different from the first observation, but still kids engaged, kids
Mhm.
working on task. I think there were very few off task students.
Now, let me tell you. So, what I wrote exactly the same as you. When we talk about a timer, and I think we talked about it the last time,
Mm-hmm.
every time that
Mm-hmm.
I see a timer,
Mm-hmm.
to me, that is a high expectation. It's a
Yes.
2.1.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the teachers are actually telling the students, I expect you to finish the work at this time.
Mm-hmm.
You have only 5 minutes, you have 3 minutes. I also noticed that there was a bell ringer on the
Yes.
board and it says EOC questions. So the
Okay.
students were working on the bell ringer
Mm-hmm.
and it was very good when the kids are pairing up. Now,
Yes.
did you notice anything that we can give feedback to the teacher? What are the things that you notice that she could do better?
Be more in the power zone.
In the power
I
zone?
think she was at her desk a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Also, maybe to talk to the whole class and give maybe instructions or to keep them on task, but the whole class, because I think she was like going from like student to student,
Mm-hmm.
and she was kind of just like talking to groups individually instead of actually addressing the whole class.
Mm-hmm. And I
Um,
think in there she was just checking because they're supposed to be working in
mhm.
groups. But one of the big things that I wrote as a refinement for the teacher is like you said about the cell phones.
Mhm. Mhm.
If you notice, there were two students. The teacher redirects two students that are using the cell
Mhm.
phones in the
Mhm.
class.
Yeah,
So this one we go back to which domain?
that would be three
Mm-hmm.
point two, managing
3.2.
student behavior and expectations.
Right. So I will go with 3.2, but my point is this. Why do the kids have the cell phones? Did you notice that in the back of the room there's a cell phone pockets and it was empty?
Oh.
So those are the little feedbacks that
Mhm.
like I will meet with the teacher and say it was good that you redirected the kids, but to begin with, why do the kids have the phones?
Yes.
Because one of our procedures at school is that when the students walk in, they put the cell phones in their pockets.
Mhm.
That's what we have the pockets in every classroom.
Mhm.
And that's why the students supposed to come, put it in the pocket.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that will be one of my reinforcements.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so and this is the first time that we visit that teacher,
Yes.
but
Mhm.
then we also visit another teacher,
Yes.
Miss Alonso. 3 minutes, 3 minutes.
Yes. So Miss Alonso was another good class that
Mm-hmm.
we walked into. She was sitting in the front of the class, questioning, giving a lecture.
Mm-hmm.
The students had a graphic organizer that we were able to get a hold of. It was also posted on the board, so they had it on paper and they also had it on the board to
Yes.
see. There was also a video that we didn't get to see, but I know was still on the board. So I'm assuming they
Mm-hmm.
watched the video. They were examining a treaty and talking about the War of 1812, analyzing. The objective was posted. Her questions, I think everything was posted well. Students were answering questions out loud. I think they were just having a discussion, a class discussion. The classroom culture felt, or the classroom environment felt welcoming. The kids were answering, they were talking. They seemed like they were comfortable there. They were taking timeline. I also had timeline notes and a graphic organizer, so they were
Yes.
doing like both things. And they did have a bell ringer. But that classroom was also enjoyable. You could tell a lot of the kids were engaged. They weren't sleeping. There was no misbehaviors. So that you could tell that the teacher had a good hold on her kids.
Yes. And then the last class that we visited was the opposite.
Yes.
100%. So
Yes.
we
Yes.
visited Coach Garcia.
Yes.
And in Coach Garcia's class, we know it's a regular class,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a little bit of chaos,
Mm-hmm.
but it was an organized chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw the students engaged. I
Yeah.
saw the students writing on the posters.
Mm-hmm.
What did you get from Coach Garcia's
Yeah,
class?
exactly. I thought the same thing, that there was organized chaos. It was everybody was up doing. They're working on their posters. They were working on political posters, which in this time now, we're in an election year.
Mhm.
So students were researching candidates. Also, they were drawing, they were writing, they were talking, they were collaborating. The environment felt good. There was no off task
Mhm.
behaviors. There was no phones. Classroom culture seemed positive. They seemed like they enjoyed the class. I think you saw a student in there that was
Yes.
mostly a misbehavior kid, but he
Yes.
was
He's a
doing work.
troublemaker.
Mm-hmm.
We know him from the halls, and he was drawing,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, he was very engaged.
Yeah. So I thought that was a good thing to see. Also, something different, like you
Yeah.
said, completely opposite.
Mhm.
So yeah, I enjoyed that one. I like to see kids up and walking
And
around.
something that you don't know is that I went back to the teacher, and I said, I have two questions for you. And he's like, yes. He said, number one, why did all the kids were working on Trump? Because what happened is when I approached one of the kid said, because we get 10 extra points if he's Trump. So as an administrator, that was a concern.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like you cannot tell the kids who to vote, and if you're giving extra points for one person to the other one. So I was concerned, so I just say, hey coach, it was a great job, I really like what you're doing, hey, why did the kids pick this? And the teacher said, oh, nombre, they decided, I gave them the option, and I cannot tell them what do they want to do. But I also noticed when he told me I did this assignment because that previous day we work on voting, kids voting. So it was a great connection.
Mhm.
Okay, so that was my face-to-face meeting with the teacher
Mhm.
that we spoke about it.
Okay.
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 So
Good.
I think we are doing great. And
Yes.
finally, before we close, I want you to look at these notes that I gave you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I'm just gonna read some of the notes that I took.
Okay.
And I want you to tell me the domains, because that's what we work on this
Yes.
week. So for example, I have the class begins with a teacher ensuring that there are no cell phones being used in the class.
Yeah, that would be 3.2.
That will be 3.2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a student has Chromebooks ready.
That would be 2.1.
Yes, 2.1,
Yeah.
because we're getting the high expectations.
Yes.
Okay. Then I have students have the agenda of the day posted, and the teacher reviews the agenda.
Ooh.
Word of the day, philosophy. Students need to draw or define the word. All of that.
That fall under routines and procedures.
It could be routines and procedures.
But also high expectations.
High expectations.
2.1.
Because at the beginning of the class, the teacher is actually telling the kids, this is what we are going to do.
Yes.
And then I wrote, the teacher explains that any misconceptions will get clarified. Teacher explains that they will challenge the AP exam. And then she said, turn to your learning partner and talk about the word of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So in this one, what are the two domains that you will give the teacher credit?
2.1
Mhm.
and 2.2.
Okay, well, 2.2 is the teacher knowledge.
Yeah, their expertise.
The expertise.
Oh, yeah.
And teacher is saying,
So-
explain that any misconception whether it gets clarified.
Mhm.
When me as a teacher is gonna clarify things,
Mhm.
we are adjusting the lesson.
Oh, okay, yes.
Okay.
So monitor and adjust.
Yes.
2.5.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the last one, after the talking in pairs, students